Welcome back, one and all, to the Amazon EU Masters main stage play-ins. I have a sneeze building right up in my nose, and I can feel it. So there may be a time I turn to the sneeze. I'm sorry about that. I'm just going to be honest with you. This is how it's going to work. It's going to come back. I can feel it. But we have just seen, obviously, a great performance from LDLC, but it wasn't a perfect one.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is that, you know, in best of ones, you can get upsets. Sometimes it's not upset in the scoreline, but it's still Atlanta bringing a really strong performance and challenging. I think it's a critical story from this. A lot of people will just look at it as a 1-0, but I think Atlanta showed that they have the potential to challenge these stronger teams. The LDLC was still convincing in the way they finished this one out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, the way we always saw this and the way we set it up was the longer the game went, the harder it became for Atlanta to try and make those big, off-tempo plays. And though we saw little bits of it, it just came a little bit too late for me in my liking. So by the time they were actually able to take those big 5v5s, I feel like the scaling had already gotten away from them.
And I think there was some lessons here for LDLC. I think the big thing was there were mistakes they made which were punished. And I think, part of it might be the hubris, right? They're not expected to be punished on these mistakes by a team who aren't in one of the major regions of the ERLs, not one of the accredited leagues, but Atlanta really proving that PG Nats, once again, because we've kind of hit on this last few Masters, they do need to be respected, right? It's not a game we can just expect to take freely.
No,
and absolutely. I think the team fights are such a big one as well for it.
And this one here, even though it was incredibly chaotic, it still felt like target selection was good from Atlanta. They were picking out who they wanted to go for. And yes, there was a lot of mobility on the side of LDLC, but they nearly got it to stick.
And I think this is something that really, in terms of Atlanta, there are definitely strength in the individuals, but the main strength for me is the coordination and the team play. I think that's why they ended up having the upset in their region in the PG Nats and beating out Matchco because, despite the fact that they're strong individuals on their opposition side, they played better as a team. And I think that clip was a perfect example of strong team play winning out. And as much as it wasn't enough to get in the whole game, still testament to them.
Yeah, testament to them. But of course, the end of it was LDLC who were the winners of that particular game. And look, it took a while. And as their first game of EU Masters, you're still happy with a win, but definitely some things to be improved upon.
Yeah, for sure. And I think just people getting caught out a bit too much. That was a consistent theme. But it did come to those later team fights and everyone was firing on all cylinders. Moments like this, it just looked super one-sided, but it took a while to get there. And I think, across the board, everyone felt like they had a couple of mistakes to definitely look back on and say, this is what we want to work on. And I mean, look how choppy that gold graph ends up being.
Yeah, it's not a smooth, endward sail towards the purple. It's very moments of just, uh-oh, and then they kind of brought it back.
Yeah, very sporadic.
I'm laughing at the dragons.
Again,
I know. I think it's really funny, again, because I think we always see bugs, but they're never like spectator bugs. And I always find the spectator bugs to be a little bit more funny because they're harmless. It's just a spectator. Who cares?
Hey, if someone's watching this, they might get confused. Did they change dragons?
Yeah, but it doesn't affect the the integrity of the game.
Yeah,
that's my point. That's my point.
My favorite spectator bug is the one with the floating champions.
I love that one. I think it happened this year for Hysterics when the Ziggs ended up like 3 or 4 feet off the ground. Yeah, he lost his absolute mind. Those are fun and they're harmless because they don't affect the game. But again, good start for LDLC. We can bring ourselves now into our next game, and we are going to see a little bit of a tougher matchup. I think this is a little bit closer, than when we look at these two teams.
Yeah, and I'm honestly excited for this matchup when we get to the draft because Bisons, particularly in best of one, right? A lot of the sentiment coming out from the Superliga is that this lineup is so hard to play against in a best of one because you never know what they're going to bring out.
Yeah, and if you looked at it as well, this was a team that coming into the playoff setup, they had so much to do just to make it to EU Masters, and they still did it. They were able to knock down so many massive teams just to get their spot here.
Yeah, an absolute fight to get there, and I'm happy we got the money. I think this is where they're going to flourish, right? I feel like in a best of series, teams might be able to adapt. A lot of people quote them as cheesy. I think the term cheese is something people use a lot to discredit strategies. I think they're innovative strategies, but sometimes
cheese is great. I love
exactly.
Cheese.
Sometimes they don't run the course over a series, but in a best of one where we said upsets can happen, really hard to prepare against. And to be honest, this team is a pretty stacked roster from a stacked region, so expectations are high, but they are going up against a tough opponent.
Yeah, they really, really are. And again, another team that kind of had to fight their way through in terms of like what they were able to do in their region. And again, it's something that I kind of like to see as well when we get these major regions coming into us. It is a team that is going to have a little bit more to prove.
Yeah, and they had to fight their way through play-ins, right? Yeah. And it was a bit of a battle. We also saw this is why I think the draft phase is going to be interesting. We saw so many varied picks coming out for them. It felt like most of the players, I think Dream Race played a lot of Nautilus, but everyone else was switching over game on game. We even saw like Shyvana Top coming out from Ivo. So it's going to be hyped to see what comes out here. But, you know, a lot of recognizable names in sort of EU Masters. Dream Race has been on the Unicorns roster for such a long time. Ivern and Lurox, we've seen time and time again perform this tournament.
I was going to say, like, you look at this team, there's a really nice mixture of new and old EURL talent. And I feel like Ibo, excuse me, has been you know, around for quite a long time, and someone who's always been a very good pillar in that top side.
Also, I think those jerseys are sick, by the way.
They are very, very unique, I think is the best way to put it, because they don't look like esports jerseys.
Yeah,
which I like.
Yeah, I mean, I think they look cool. You know, I feel like I've so much had, you know, the original Unicorns, the iconic one when they were in the EULCS in my mind. When I've seen Unicorns, that one was, you know, I like it. I rate it.
Yeah, I mean, it's always one of those fun things when you get a team like Unicorns, who obviously went off to the CIS region, and then they're coming kind of pseudo back into the EU Masters, and they've been in the Prime League for quite a long time. This is the first time we are seeing Unicorns Love Sexy Edition in the EU Masters. This is going to be a very interesting time for them to see how they're able to go up against, arguably, I would say, one of the dark horses for the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a big test because, I mean, I just want to get a draft and see how things are going to develop because for those who aren't familiar, we saw so many crazy things come out of Bisons. Guubi, in particular, the AD carry player, back when Senna Sion was a thing, he said, I'm going to play Sion, even though he's the AD carry, because I think I'm better at it than most supports. And so we saw a lot of Senna coming out from them, and then they'd pair it with, like, the Nasus was something that they first came out with. We've seen Random play Nasus mid. We've seen, you know, Soraka bot lane. Just like all sorts of things come out for this lineup. So it's going to be a hard one to predict, but we're going to get a lot of things coming out. First off, we get the Gnar ban coming away, just trimming that from Ibo, who, you know, historically has played that a fair bit when it's been a meta.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this is the first match now for Bisons coming into the Amazon EU Masters main event. This is going to be a good temperature check for them to see where they fit, where they find themselves in the 12.6 meta. Not a huge amount have changed, but enough has to make you kind of question one or two things.
Yeah, I think, you know, we've seen tweaks and adjustments, but ultimately I feel like for the most part the meta hasn't shifted too heavily. But you know, meta doesn't really come into the conversation when we're looking at Bisons too much because Seraphine, Karma's something that they flex towards the top lane and will put in basically every lane.
Yep.
Seraphine's something they have played bot. Guubi, very proficient on those mages, and then we get the Zeriban because that's just how it is, right? So we'll see.
She's still broken. She got a million nerfs and she's still busted.
Keep needing nerfing it.
Yeah. But the Lucian first pick, so this is kind of a flex. Can technically go into 3 roles.
I mean, this is the Bison special. You pick something and you just have no idea where it's going to go, and then because it's Bison, you're like, I mean, I don't think Lucian can jungle, but maybe just because it's Bison.
Maybe
right?
It's a Lucian support. We don't know yet.
It's probably going to be mid, top, or AD, but they have those options. Especially, they did ban away the Jace and the Gnar, some range matchups, perhaps. Better security, some matchup, I'm not too sure. But either way, Volibear, Nautilus, good single target CC coming out from the Unicorns. And then we get the Trundle and the Leona. And this is important because, you know, Lucian top, mid, and AD carry, all those flexes are still available in this one, right? By picking the jungler support, those are the ones that can't go to. So Unicorns are still left guessing, and it means we'll get to the second round of bans, and wherever Bisons want to put that Lucian, they'll be able to secure a really good matchup.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll see now for Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition where they want to try and take their final ban before the second phase, or final pick before the second phase of bans. It is the Viktor, pretty damn safe, a good blind, even, you know, when you don't really know where everything's going.
I think it is good in a Lucian, right? Because if he steps up to you, you can just burst him down very quickly. You can use your ultimate to interrupt the channel of his ultimate. So in terms of mids, it's a decent scaling mid that'll be able to offer prio quite well once he gets his evolve, but importantly, would be okay in a Lucian, right, if that was forced to be the situation. And now Unicorns, they are continuing on banning away these things they don't want to see, and especially if the Lucian does go mid, there's a high chance we see a mage to the bot lane, so getting rid of that Soraka, don't want to go up against that.
Yeah, again, this is just more of those weird and wonderful that Bisons have become so known for over in the LVP, and it's just going to be a more and more kind of, you know, question marks for the side of Unicorns and Love Sexy Edition, but it does feel like they've come in with a pretty decent plan of how they want to try and approach it and mitigate it.
Yeah, I think for the most part, the picks they have quite comfortable, but then again, Bisons, right, they have the Trundle into the Volibear. That's a good matchup because you can duel them early. I mean, I keep saying it, it's just continuing down that avenue. The Xerath, something else that Guubi has played in the bot lane, right? You probably look at this picture like, well, surely that's not gone AD carry. Yeah, it really has.
And we could still see something crazy. That's the great thing about Bisons, that we could still see something absolutely off the wall.
These bans, like, this is what you go into in a best of one. Like, we have to deal with this. And the thing is, if you let one of those picks open and you don't know how to deal with it, which is probably, you know, you probably haven't played against it much unless you scrimmed them, then you're left in a really difficult spot. Unicorns will just lock in that Jinx. Something that obviously scales well. They're leaving top lane because I think maybe with the Malphite Aurelia ban, they're a little bit scared of that Lucian top. They want to know for sure where it will go. I do feel like that Lucian into the Jinx of the bot lane, especially with the Leona, not the best sort of combo. So, understandandly, it looks like something that, I mean, this is a flex as well.
It could be a Kog'Maw mid, yeah. It could be a Kog'Maw mid if they want to try and go for it, but lots to kind of diss about. What is this? Is that, so Trundle top, Lucian mid, Kog'Maw bot? That's what I'm thinking. Or maybe even Kog'Maw swap to mid.
Yeah, I think
it may be Kog'Maw mid.
No, I think it's probably going to be the Kog'Maw AD carry, Lucian top, right? Because it's going to be good in most matchups.
And then Ivern
I believe they played the Ivern mid.
Really?
If I remember, yeah, they played it.
The LS playbook.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it from Cloud9 as well. Essentially, you have two hyper... Well, Lucian's a hyper carry. You have a hyper carry in the bot lane, you can shield. You have the Lucian at the top, also benefits massively from enchanters. We've seen that come out. So, this is what we expected from Bisons, right?
It is, yeah. Well, he expected the unexpected.
Yeah. Unicorns, I feel like that comp is, you know, you have two hyper carries, you're a great front line. I don't think there's anything too wild that came out of this. And I feel like they've managed things okay, right?
I mean, it's pretty standard front to back, you know?
Yeah, just... like the Viktor isn't going to have too much pressure. You're not going to really have kill pressure on the Ivern, but you'll have prio and you'll be able to scale up. The Jinx in the bot lane, as long as you don't get engaged on, should be comfortable in the matchup. And Ornn, it's going to be a bit rough in the top lane, but Ornn's going to scale well even so. But this Bison's composition... kind of hard to judge specifically how it'll come out. The mid jungle is going to be exceptionally strong, right?
Yes.
That is why you pick the Ivern, because you shield up your jungler, and then especially someone like a Trundle, who once you stack up, right, you start getting stuck in the fight, you have the attack speed, you have the AD, will perform exceptionally. So I feel like they want to have that mid jungle pressure and expand that into the side lanes, particularly top. It's going to be a fantastic lane for them. Bot lane as well. People think of Kog'Maw as like, oh, it's a super scaling pick, but if you pop that W in lane, you can shred anything.
Absolutely, you get that extra range, and if you want to think about the Ivern mid, think of it similar to a Karma mid. It's that kind of same style in the early game in terms of how you're able to kind of shield up your jungler and facilitate the rest of your team. A lot of other things that are very different about the two picks, but the general gist of it is that's how it's going to generally go. And honestly, this is going to be about how Unicorns of Love Sex Edition can mitigate that, can stop this, you know, weird and wonderful, to make it look to be a little bit of a, you know, quote-unquote troll pick. You know, that's kind of what they have to do.
Yeah, and I think as well what makes it quite tricky is you have two damage carries really on the side of Unicorns, right? Both of them are going to be wanting to scale up. If it comes to that mid game, you're really going to have a hard time cutting through not only enemy targets, but also enemy targets who have potential shields coming out from things like the Ivern.
We are going to jump onto the Rift. It is the first game for both of these teams in the Amazon EU Masters main stage 2022 spring. We're going to have to wait and see where all of these absolute shenanigans... You know what? In fairness to the mid laner of Bisons, he's called random, and he has picked an Ivern, so you know what? I give him that.
And you know what? There's one concern that was possibly in my mind is a lack... I mean, to be honest, I feel like
global warming.
Even AD carry Kog'Maw does a lot of AP damage. This is actually looking like it's going to be an AP Kog'Maw. Because he has Doran String and Invent, he has Comet, hasn't got the lethal tempo. So this makes an interesting dynamic, right? Bison's going to be playing towards the top side, and essentially the way the AP Kog'Maw is going to work is it will just poke from such a massive difference. AP Kog'Maw spikes with levels super heavily. Level 6, level 11, level 16, your ult gets extra range. Obviously damage as well, but when you hit level 16, your ult is so long range, right? If you think about Unicorn's composition, Jinx has an auto range, unfortunately. Viktor is a mid-ranged mage. You're just not even going to be able to get close if he's poking you out. Put you in a little bit of a painful spot. So I feel like not much attention is going to be put down towards that bot lane, but it is going to come into fruition later. But I thought things couldn't get weirder from the draft. This is definitely got a bit wild on this one.
Look at him. Just living his best life, the little duck there in the bottom left corner. But yeah, I would be curious to see now how we're going to go for it. Like you said, it is going to be that living artillery that is the big spike. Should we end up seeing Guubi going for this full AP damage? And like you said, you do have a finite range on something like a Jinx, so to get even close to it is going to become a bit of an issue. And it's honestly, if you're wondering how you build this, if you're wondering the way you go for it, you know, the Kog'Maw, you generally scale up with your, oh, I'm gonna stop myself there for a second as we see a little bit of engage, but you do say the Void Ooze being leveled up first. It is the best for clearing out the waves, and then after that, it's pretty much your ult and then anything else secondary.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, the Void Ooze has that wave clear, also helps just to slam it down when you're contesting. It's just kind of a, you know, these long-range poke champions can, when you have a front-to-back comp like Unicorns have here, you just avoid interaction with the front line. You know, if someone oversteps, you do kill them, of course, but you can just fire off your abilities far further. and look to poke out the critical carries. There is only 2 critical carries on Unicorns. If one of them gets chunked, you lose so much of your damage.
You lose a lot. We will see a little bit of an invade coming in now here from the Trundle, but not going to find any fruits of labor on this particular route. But we'll know that Lurox is around by his Raptors. So now, maybe a little bit between a pillar and a hard place, but you got to get a trade back. And oh my dear, you talked about the trading, but this is the one way you don't want to be trading. It's right on top of his Sky Splitter. We literally saw the exact same thing happen in a previous game where you just, yes, you can fight him, but only if you dodge his first ability.
Yeah, I mean, oh, might see more here, Ivern.
Oh, that had to be a crucial flash there from both the top and jungler of the side of Bisons. And they tried to go for the invade, they tried to make it work, but it got backfired to them big time.
Yeah, so I talked about how the Trundle beats the Volibear in the 1v1. If you standing this Sky Splitter and also tank those Raptors, you're not going to win, right? If the Volibear gets the shield and he chunks you out with that ability, because the Sky Splitter does a ton of damage, it really just allows the Volibear to find favor in the 1v1. Trundle, you really need to avoid that. Albetrayber makes a mistake, is punished, loses a flash. Top lane has flashed this as well, but ultimately not too much is going to come from that one. Lurox is looking mid. The wave's in a bit of a rough spot for the Ivern. Might just reset and TP back in, and Ruby, he's quite comfortable just holding the wave here and denying as much farm as possible. Yep,
and this is good from the side of Unicorns. You're the Prime League representative, going to be feeling pretty happy with the way this early game is going so far. They do need to just be careful of those big spikes. You think of the level 6 here from the Ivern, the Daisy coming in, making it an unfair skirmish no matter where you are. And they just have to make sure that they don't get too complacent with the way this game has started.
See Dream Race hovering around mid, but I mean, hard to really do anything. There just isn't really the damage available to the Viktor if you are, and that's kind of the reason why this Ivern works so well in the 2v2 mid-jungle, is because, you know, the burst damage from the Viktor isn't enough early to get through the shield and do a significant amount, and then in the extended trade, you'll find a ton of value.
Well, we'll see what they want to try and do now as Bison start to run around the map, trying to clear out as much vision as possible. Of course, Reptile had a pretty decent performance in his play-in stage matches. He looked pretty damn good for the side of Unicorns of Love, and we'll see now what he's able to do in this bot side. There'll be a lot of pressure on him, you feel, to be able to put down those big auto attacks. Speaking of which, they're going to get a bit of a CC chain here onto Oscure, but not really much else to go from it.
And this is where the Leona works really well into the Nautilus, because with it being an AP Kog'Maw, you can't really take extended trades, right? But Nautilus also can't just sit in melee range of Leona. Leona, the reason she's so strong is a Q is a 5-second cooldown. See, melee checks most champions. If you stay in melee range, you'll just Q, proc that extra damage. And she's so tanky that you won't win out, even with the fact that you have an AD carry who's constantly auto-attacking. So it means that basically Unicorns can't do too much with that bot lane pressure in the 2v2, but they are going to use that to translate into a dragon and pick that first one up. We'll see if we have any more overlay bugs on this one.
I'm excited for them. We'll see what we end up getting. We do.
We get the no dragon bug.
No dragon bug. Let's go. All right, so we'll keep that in the back of our heads that there is a mountain dragon now on the side of Unicorns of Love. Check that down in terms of a mental health check, but we'll see where we're able to kind of go from this one here. And honestly, it is going to be a little bit more difficult for them to try and make something, especially when Ruby has no real mana, but both junglers are in the vicinity.
You don't want this from Unicorns. You really do not want to look at this play. I think Lurox is just shattering to help crash it, but
yeah, there's the pillar going down. He does have himself a gravity well. They try and trade this one back, but Daisy is now joined in to get himself a little bit of an extra substitute. It's just a trade of ultimate. Something else really happens from there, and that's the end of the trade.
But critically, Daisy's still alive, right? The Chaos Storm. Oh, this is so annoying.
Oh, man. That is... Oh.
That's weird, right? You sacrifice Daisy, you stop the reset. Now Bisons can crash the wave. And critically, Ruby had TP advantage, so this was going to be a bit of a pain point if the wave was crashed for Unicorns and then Ruby got to reset rather than missing out some CS. So nice little use of the Daisy. I think it shows it's been practiced.
They know what they're doing. They know how to get into the mines. It is sometimes all about that little bit of mental warfare. Does that, you know, reset cost you as much in the grand scheme of things? Probably not. But it doesn't matter because you're able to do it. If you're able to constantly do that, you can force a mistake.
Makes a difference. A couple of CS here, a couple of CS there, go a long way. Especially since random, you know, playing the Ivern, you typically go on supportive items. We usually see the Moonstone come out. Gonna obviously increase your shielding you offer. You got the extra healing in fights as well. And it's a cheap item that you'll be able to pick up.
And it's a very cheap item, and that's kind of the reason why you do see some of these enchanters going towards the mid lane. You end up having just a much easier, much quicker time getting up to your item spikes and just getting your much cheaper items that are generally seen more towards supports. But see what Bisons are able to do out of it. It's still Unicorns of Love having a bit of an easier time in this bot side, 10 CS or so, or maybe a little less of that in the advantage as they try and just crash that one up and get a reset going for themselves. Reptile maybe thinking he wants to stay as the push is coming back. Oh, that was unfortunate for Ibo. If he had waited even half a second more, he probably would have got the knock up and got a little bit more damage in that trade.
And you have to actually be concerned as Lucian in this matchup, because with the spellbook from the Ornn, if he does go Ignite, as he did there, if he connects on a CC, he actually does just 100-0 you, right? The Ornn damage pretty disturbing. But Myrwn's going to be able to avoid that, and we just see a continuation. Still, very slow-paced. I feel like this is a hard one to scope out who it favors. I think both team comms have a different way they want to play out the later stage team fights. Honestly, I feel like Unicorns are going to possibly struggle, right? They're going to be relying on trying to find these engages, while Guubi can just poke from such a long distance. But there's definitely opportunities if someone does overstep from Bisons, right? They have the Jinx, they have the Viktor, they have these late game carries. Especially when they do get those ornaments.
I love what you brought up there about the getting those engages off, because the big thing right now is that yes, you do have a lot of CC, a lot of AoE CC to be on that, but look at the disengage you've got available to you on Bisons, the Trundle pillar, the Ivern in general, just general ways of keeping yourself shielded and safe, and it just becomes so much harder, so much more annoying for Unicorns to get that full 5v5 like you were just talking about.
I think they're going to struggle, honestly. I think they're actually going to struggle, and especially if Bisons are able to position correctly when approaching objectives. The thing is as well that with the ultimate for the Kog'Maw, oh no, Reptile.
Oh, Reptile, the PT is going to be used, going to get between the tower and the pillar, but I don't think he's going to be able to survive. There's first blood going over, but it's going to be seen out Bisons. Two-man knockup, but not onto Oscure, who's the one they probably wanted to get. He will get a knockup, but it's only onto the Trundle. Again, we're seeing just little bits not quite sticking. Bisons come out with the dive and the kill.
Yeah, good execution. They get both summoners from the Jinx. They dump in too much themselves. A nice punish, and able just to help get some gold towards his bot lane. Something you mentioned as well with the AP Kog'Maw, your W does percentage HP magic damage, it scales with AP. In most situations, altering as AP Kog'Maw isn't that great, but in the later stages, if Ornn is for some reason in range of you, your W actually does a ton. Here, they end up just layering the CC pretty effectively. The cleanse will disrupt that, but the damage is there, doesn't help against that. And then, Ibo not able to connect with the Oscure. I'm not sure if that would have, I don't think it would have killed Leona, but I don't know, man.
I mean, you take any kill. You take any kill if you can. I'm saying, oh, sorry, I thought you said if you don't want to know if they killed the Leona.
Oh, no, I'm saying I'm not sure if that would have killed Leona.
Yeah, sorry, I misunderstood. That was my fault.
Like, Leona's tanky, but Ornn has a lot of damage, so maybe
either or, but this is good now for the side of Bisons. They're able to keep this Kog'Maw safe. They're able to kind of just do this now. The Leona's free to just roam around, start setting up camps in different lanes, getting that momentum going in the other side of the map, because let's be real, the Kog'Maw can just farm for days from a distance. He's already nearly got his tier up to 200 stacks. He's going to be fine.
Yeah, and ideally you want to get to a point where Kog'Maw's the one holding mid, because Ivern isn't the best. He's been using his shield to clear waves, but it's going to be almost maxed right now. You're not going to get much more damage on it. And at that point, it's kind of like you just want the Kog'Maw could sit there and just permanently shred the waves, and then Lucian can answer sides when needed.
Here we go, though. We're going to see the Hex Flash used and the Solar Flare. They're getting right up on top of this Viktor, and Ruby is dead. Nothing he can do there. The Chaos Storm, though, doing a lot of damage, and now with Oscure going down, they're trying to turn this one all the way back. They flash in on top of Guubi, who has to flash in response. Ibo is here now with the rest of his team, but it's a one-for-one trade at the end of it all.
The Precarious there, they find Ruby, they layer the CC, they manage to take him down, but a lot of turnaround pressure comes out from Unicorns. And in the end, Unicorns are going to be the ones who can pick up that second dragon. They already have him. Which one is it?
Mountain Dragon.
Oh, he remembers! Yeah, Mountain. And they will pick up this Ocean as well.
Gold star for me.
Yeah, congratulations.
But yeah, that's 2 dragons now for the side of Unicorns of Love. They're going to be able to kind of keep that as a win condition. It is an Infernal Soul.
Fantastic.
So this is actually huge for both these teams. But I would say that now becomes a much bigger win condition for the side of Unicorns if they want to try and burst out some of these carries.
Yeah, I mean, 100% any extra damage when you're going up against a composition like this, if you can do enough to kill a target before they get reshielded, it makes all the difference. But honestly, I feel like Infernal Soul with an AP Kog'Maw is the most disgusting thing ever. But they are still a while away. Moonstone, though, now picked up by random. We see the Kraken Slayer for Myrwn, so knowing he needs to be that reliable AD DPS in the fight. And that's something to mention as well. you know, Unicorn's composition functions well.
Oh, Solar Flare is just about tagging him there, and they can't quite get the pillar. But these are the small little things. A single target CC with the Solar Flare and then on top of the pillar means it actually becomes very difficult to get out of that if one of them lands.
Yeah, just unfortunately not able to connect on that one. But yeah,
Oh, Ibo. Gonna see if he can get the knock up. He will indeed. The Brittle is there. We can see now if Myrwn's going to try and maybe get himself away from this, though. It's very difficult for them trying to trade this one back, but they have got themselves the Volibear coming back in on top of this, and yep, you're dead, son. Nothing he can do about it, and that is just a very well executed kill there from the side of Unicorns.
I'd say Ivo probably going to finish them off, but just wanted to play it safe there. I mean, the amount of damage Ornn does in that 1v1, Myrwn gets dismantled. They're going to put down the Herald top and get some plates. So we can get some more off the back of that. Again, just accelerating some gold. Albetrayber is going to be here, so I mean, it's some plates. Honestly, it's not the best use of the Herald. Typically, if I'm looking for good usage, it's a full tower on the top of bot lane, or you put the plates mid, because obviously getting that mid tier 1 is a lot more valuable for opening up the map. But I think with how close it was to 14 minutes, they just said, we're just going to take the gold.
Yeah, you got to get something out of it. It is a Kraken Slayer as well being picked up by Myrwn.
Did you see that damage, by the way?
Yeah, that was one W. As I said, you max it up, it does a lot to the minion wave, and it does, yeah, the AP scaling is pretty damn nutty. So lots to be able to do here as we can wait to see Reptile. Yeah, I thought about it for a second. It's like, if they don't know they're on a ward, they could be in a lot of trouble, but they backed themselves away. They should be able to get the reset, and we should be seeing the first item being picked up by Reptile soon.
And I think a big thing to talk about is the Trundle's function. The pillar is so good at disrupting Unicorns when they try and engage, but also if Ivern oversteps looking for something, you ult him, he'll get shredded quickly.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's going to have to flash out of that one there, so it's a flash for the flash in the top side, but
punish in this lane.
Yeah, he's getting punished pretty damn hard, and this Lucian first pick has been put under the ringer right now for the side of Bisons. They are not really having a great time of it, and actually, it's going to be a smite away, 100%. Not even need a smite, he's actually just going to go straight away and chomp it, but that's unfortunate.
Ruby's so sad he was no mana.
Yeah, yeah, he wanted that real bad.
Yeah, even ended up being the ultimate, so Albetrayber just applying this pressure, trying to zone away Reptile, and this is the cost, right? They're looking for a dive in top lane.
He has no mana. He can't do this. Yeah. You can even see Ruby immediately was like, I need to walk away, because if I try and go for this, I'm just going to be useless. And honestly, yes, they get the kill on the top side, but that was so unnecessary from Dreamer Ace.
Yeah, I mean, just stepping up, trying to provide pressure for your Viktor. But the thing is, Viktor has TP. Should just go for the reset and come back in, and now Bison's going to apply some pressure. And the thing is, it's not even about this mid-tower pressure. It's the fact that look at Reptile. He's just been sitting behind the tower for such a long time, not able to walk up, not able to farm. It's been put in a really painful position.
Yeah, because again, the Trundle and Leona have lived on that bottom half, as has the Volibear lived in the top. So when you're able to kind of make that kind of trade, you're saying, look, we want to put resources against this Lucian. That's great. You got to pay it somewhere else.
And I'm just going to say, if I look at champions, I want to be snowballed. Ornn, Volibear.
Not the two I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, both these, they're going to provide CC in the later fights. They're going to be like the ones diving forwards and being tanky, but really not going to be that instrumental in securing the lead for Unicorns.
Gets his blue.
Got a blue. Yeah, you got revenge. You got it back.
You got it back. Good man, Ruby. Good man. I'd say he's delighted with that now. But coming now up to about 16 minutes into the game, we got pretty much dead even. 40 seconds till Dragon spawns. Remember, there has been 2 already picked up for Unicorns of Blood. They have a mountain and an ocean. Do not let the overhead display deceive you. That is exactly what we're going to be talking about now. But with 30 seconds in, and you're looking at some pretty key items coming in. Kraken Slayer. You've also got the Moonstone Renewer here for Ivern and the Liandry's Torment. You have a lot of big spikes coming in here for Bisons.
I want to see Poke come out for Bisons. Ultimately, they're looking for it now. They're posturing for the mid wave. The more Poke they can get down, the more likely they're going to win out this battle for the objective. You can see the shields coming in, but they don't want to try and wait for the poke. They're going to go for the full fight right here, right now. They're going to be able to try and catch them out. We're going to see the Trundle have to flash away after getting the subjugate. He's still heating up. One more auto attack will do it, and he is shut down by the big old bear from the Freljord. They are still chasing this one down. Remember, there's still an Ivern who's able to facilitate with those shields. Look at the 280 carries effectively in the backside with a flash over the wall. With the Dredge line, does mean to get the Lucian, and this is a good fight as the Jinx gets reset. One more will do it. Yes, they will. And Oscure has nowhere to go. Double kill. Maybe even
and a triple if you count the earlier kill there for Lurox, and that's going to be 4 for none in favor of the side of Unicorns.
And Unicorns make the 100% correct call. They engage as soon as possible. It's not the clearest engage, but they start the fight and they do not let Bisons back away. They know the game plan is to land that consistent probe, get people low, and the thing with Kog'Maw's ultimate, the lower you are, the more damage it does. That's when it gets scary. But by initiating that fight, no one ends up dropping, and Lurox ultimately so aggressive on this Volibear pick. So they kick things off with the Ornn ultimate, and ultimately Random and Guubi don't really get aggressed on because they're over the wall, but they commit on the Nautilus. We see Random fly in to try and help, but just puts him in a compromising position, and then they end up in this really rough spot where they're kind of trapped between walls, not able to get out. Dreamrace doing a fantastic job here as well, following up.
Yeah, great flash over the wall, recognizes they have an opportunity just to try and burst him out with Ruby in the back pocket, and this is just a really good turn of events for Unicorns. It was frustrating, but you could see once they started rolling, those resets for Jinx become huge.
And a big thing is, with the Jinx, getting the resets, being able to move forward on these fights. If you kill someone on Bisons, you're going to get resets, you're going to get so much value, and obviously you're no longer shielding that target, right? If Myrwn stays alive, getting repeated shields, he'll get so much value. So we'll often see fights dictated by whether someone goes down or not.
Myrwn
in trouble.
Yeah, he gets stunned up. They might actually try and go for this. Yep, they're going to try and commit to it. There's going to be the Ornn coming out. Wow. It was a lot of damage, but not enough to kill him off. But that's the TP coming out from Random. What can you do here now, Bisons? Dreamer Ace maybe looking to try and get an engage here himself, but he doesn't think that the 3 tankiest members, no real damage source coming out here. I think Bison smell blood in the water, but it's going to be very difficult to lock in these very, very tanky members.
Yeah, a little bit overforced with the TP from Guubi, not able to find it. And you can see, you know, Unicorns are doing this, but they have mid and top being pushed in. Reptile getting some free farm, Ruby as well. The fact that Guubi TP'd over means it's going to be a free push for Reptile. And critically, they dropped that Herald before the last fight. Sorry, after the last fight.
Oh, there we go, though. Sorry, going to cut across you straight away as they've caught out Random. And yeah, you've got Daisy, but Daisy's not going to do a lot. These are the bulky bros running around the map, taking the kills.
And I love how this game has kind of just been like, Bison's brought out these unique picks that are like really hard to prepare against and go up against. And Unicorns are just like, you know what, Lurox is on Volibear, and he's just going to kill them. That's it. That's the game plan.
6-0.
We have a sick team fight comp, right? It's really straightforward. We have 2 hyper carries, 3 tanks who have engaged, and we just go.
Oh, that's how we kind of talk about this, you know, in isolation a lot when we come into series or come into games. That sometimes the easier to execute comp can just be that. They can just be very easy to go for those big engages. Guess what? You miss a hook. That's fine. You have an Ornn. That's fine. You can jump into a wall with Ibo. That's fine. You have a Q from Lurox. You have so many ways of following up, even if you do make a slight mistake, that you can cover for it.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is, if someone on Bisons is caught out and dies, the comp really starts to struggle there, especially if you get someone like Myrwn, who is the real consistent DPS. Now, there is something you said for the Kog'Maw still. Level 12 has surpassed that level 11 spike where you got that extra range. Level 16 is a humongous spike for it. Oh,
I was going to say, he's in a lot of trouble. He's being slowed down. He's going to flash immediately after losing it, but he's already dead. Nowhere for him to go, nothing for him to do. Now we're going to see the TP coming in from the Ornn. That's going to be Ibo going to try and maybe save out his Viktor. There's a lot of damage here available to the Trundle. Solar Flare comes out as well. I think Ibo recognized that there was not a lot he could do.
Yeah, I mean, Myrwn has not had a good game with Lucian, constantly been punished. Now, Guubi trying to clear the wave out of being threatened by 3.
Reptile needs to be careful here. Very low, going down to about half his own HP. We'll see a bit of Spider-Man action here from Dreamer Ace, but this is the thing we were talking about, that living artillery, when it hits, it will start to ramp up damage, not only because you're losing health, but because it actually ramps with the more times you use it.
Yeah, you gotta be so careful, you gotta be so precarious in the situations. That being said, you know, Kog'Maw can't spam too much because the mana cost is what increases over time as you use it more and more, so if you start to miss a couple, suddenly it's costing a ridiculous amount. That's why you want to be giving the blue buff over to your Kog'Maw at this point. And unfortunately, was secured there by the Trundle. Ivern can still pick up the blue buff. That's a nice thing, is that, you know how there's sometimes a competition when it comes to these jungle buffs? Random can just ensure that he still gets them, but he's sharing with his teammates.
Yeah, it's a nice little thing. Only one other person can get it, though. That's the only issue. So Ivern will always get it. That's what we say. Ivern always wins in those situations.
So, 50 seconds until this next dragon. The last setup for it, we saw Bisons massively lose out. Unicorns are now on Soul Point. If this Infernal Soul goes over to Unicorns, I feel like that's enough for them just to really find momentum in this game and close it out. There's also Baron on the cards if they win this fight. So Bisons are coming up early in the mid lane to try and lay us the poke down and get mid prio.
I was going to say, look at the items as they just go away there for a second. You do have 2 onto the Lucian and 2 onto Guubi. He's got that upgraded, updated Myrwn, so he's going to be able to do a significant more amount of damage. You now finally have Ruby rotating back from the bot or the top lane as he tries to make this one. They're a little bit too early as they go in with the Leona, and here we go, full 5v5. That's going to be the Ornn coming in to try and stop it now. That's a great hit there onto the backside as Oscure was just left all on his lonesome. Nowhere for him to go, nothing for him to do. They find Guubi, they take him out. The one thing about a Kog'Maw is that he does not want people on his face, and now everyone needs to walk away. I will say that though, this Ivern with the Trundle is doing significant amount of damage. It's very scrappy, it's very all over the place as Ivo tried to deal with this Trundle. The Viktor dealing with the Ivern, and they're eventually trying to go. Oh, they got him right underneath the tower. Will he fall down? No, the Airy is! Airy with the slam dunk, and Bisons are going to be able to take the dragon.
Yeah, what a fight. Honestly, I actually, you know, Unicorns were winning it at the start, and they overstepped, and the Kog'Maw passive actually came in and did so much damage and allowed them to turn it around. And that's the thing, this Trundle in the long fights, able to get the benefit from the healing from the Ivern. The thing is, when the Jinx is gone, you lose a lot of that consistent DPS. So Bisons pull that one out of nowhere. We're gonna replay. This was just absolutely manic. So I feel like you haven't really laid too much poke down. Oscure goes on the Nautilus, not the best target. And then we see this big engage come in return. The Jinx is already excited. This starts to look really favored towards Unicorns. And then Guubi dies. And everyone's kind of low, right, because of the poke that came out in return. But then Guubi explodes, kills the Volibear, really chunks out Dreamers and Reptile. And they just turn it around.
I mean, this was fantastic though from Random. You can see as well, he knows he can't really take mechanics. Yes, it was. Just look genuinely, and then boom, they just all of a sudden go in for a group hug.
It's literally the area last one. Oh, we get more action though.
We are indeed. Here's going to be the dredge line coming out. You're in the corridors. That Ornn going to go across your entirety of your team. But look at the shielding. This Trundle is not taking any damage whatsoever. And Ivo he has to flash away. They go in with the Volibear. Now look on the backside. You've got the Lucian, but he cannot stay. He needs to be so careful. 2 more auto attacks. Oh, it's very close. He needs to run, but he's very slow. Will eventually back himself away and ends up being a 2 for none in favor of Unicorns of Love, but they can go for the Baron. They got to be careful though, there's still a lot of poke.
Yeah, I feel like playing this Baron into the Kog'Maw is a super scary situation to be in, but actually it looks like Bisons aren't even really going to approach. You know, as much as the choke point allows you to have so much power with things like the Viktor and the Ornn, it was the fact that you had the Kog'Maw just firing down these abilities. It was such a heated battleground to have this fight, but ultimately Reptile is untouched. And critically, Reptile goes with the Bloodthirst, the second item. We've seen this from a lot of Aphelioses, particularly when there's a Jace in the enemy team, and you know you're gonna get targeted with poke. So I love the fact that he understands the worst thing that can happen to me is I end up low on HP because of Guubi, so he's itemized to sort of not allow that to happen.
Well, Random is a friend of the forest and will pick himself up a nice little blue buff at this stage of the game in terms of his own leveling up to level 14. Doesn't need a smite, is pretty quick to let the ring of itself, you know, kind of happen over time and be able to take that fairly quickly. So not too bad from themselves. And while we were in the replay as well, Bisons did take themselves the dragon. It might not be on the dashboard. So it is 1 dragon to Bisons, 3 over to Unicorns of Love. So we are still on soul point here for Unicorns, and they have a Baron. So they should be able to make work here on the side lanes. But they might get caught out. They need to be very careful where they go in this jungle.
Yeah, we can see Bisons just trying to fish for something potentially clear out the vision. I think Void Staff's going to come in from Guubi. He's reset for this. Level 16, I talked about multiple times, is a big spike for him, and he's closing in on it. But still, Unicorns are the one that can control. They have headed down towards bot side. You can see Lurox is pushing in that mid wave. It's been answered by Myrwn, but the rest of the team is posturing to apply pressure on this tier 2. Kind of minions hammering in. And I like this because Lurox, he's tanky. He's got his ult, he's got his flash. He's not really going to get chased down that easily. And he's just basically providing, I am a Baron buff. That is my job.
Yeah, he's just there to buff up the minions and let them do the work. We can already see now Guubi getting engaged on here by Ruby. Here comes the Ornn coming out. Flash actually catches out onto Guubi even though he flashed away. That's going to be them nearly taking down that turret, but there's a lot used here on the side of Bisons, and this is the power of the Baron buff. When you have a poke composition where you want to try and be all together, it means you have to make a decision. You can't cover all lanes.
I just love the confidence of Ruby just to walk up and ult. It looked a little bit precarious at first, but he's able to get out. Guubi chunked away, and they will take both mid and bot tier 2. They can go for a reset now. They still have a bit of time with their Baron, so they can start to apply pressure. In fact, I say start to apply pressure. Ibo TPs to top lane instantly. It looks like the goal is to push the wave in there and then look towards this dragon. In minute 15, and it would be that Infernal Soul once again.
It's a 5,000 gold lead, 5,500 gold lead. Let's have a quick look at some of the items that have been picked up. You have got a couple of upgraded things coming in: Kraken Slayer, Bloodthirster, and of course the Chem Sword coming in here for the side of the Jinx. That means you're going to be cutting through a lot of this healing. On the other side of that, though, you have the Redemption, the Void Staff finished up here for Guubi, and you're almost going there towards your third item here for the Lucian. Yes, he hasn't had a great game, but he's still Lucian. You still got to respect it.
I'll say, right, Lucian can't step up to Reptile, he just gets destroyed. Lucian can't step up to Ruby, he gets destroyed. And both the tanks have Frozen Hearts. So, I feel like this Lucian is like the most irrelevant piece of Bisons. Like, Myrwn is still trying to find angles, but there's very little he can do now. They're looking for Reptile.
I mean, Reptile's very tanky with his own Bloodthirst, and here we go. We're going to see a full fight happen straight away. They get two ultimates off on the back side of this. No one really going super low. Guubi about to half HP, and we can reset again. But look at the ultimates that were used there from the side of Unicorns. They won't have that for this fight in 8 seconds. Never mind, they're going to go for it anyway. They just need to kill the Trundle. There's no snipe fight to be done. The resets can come in as Oscure. It's going to be the double kill going over the Reptile. They land the hook on the Guubi as he falls down. Triple kill to Reptile, and they might not even need the dragon. They can look for the base.
It's only random to defend, and there's no way he can deal with this threat. Reptile once again untouched on this Jinx, able to drive through. Ivo going for the little dancer. You know, a lot of spicy picks coming out from Bison, but sometimes straightforward will do the job.
Yeah, sometimes simplest is best, and they are going to try and make this one work. They've got a minion wave. You have no wave clear as an Ivern. You need teammates to be relevant, and the Prime League will get themselves a win today in the Unicorns of Love. Fantastic game from them.
And I think the problem here is, I like the fact Unicorns went to Ornn, they had the reliable engage, they could start fights when they wanted, and then on top of that also, the Lucian just was such a non-factor, right? You didn't have the TPS to cut through the tanks, Poke didn't work on the Jinx because you had a Bloodthirster, and at the end of the day, it felt like, you know, a lot of interesting ideas came out from the side of Bisons, but the execution was all in favor of Unicorns.
I like the word choice you had there for the particular description of the side. But Bisons, that's what they do, you know? That's just what they're going to have to do, and unfortunately for them, it did not work, but we're going to throw it to a break, and when we return, we'll break it down a little bit more and see how Unicorns of Love were able to take down the Bisons.